early, but who can complain? All right. All right, and we are here. It is time. It is 10 o'clock, and we can hit it. Welcome to this Day 2 edition of Saturday Night Sports Playoff Breakdown. Today we got Jason joining us here. How you doing, man?
Doing well, my friend. Thank you for having me this Sunday morning.
For sure. Always got to return the favor. You know, you've had me many times. Just got to return the favor. You know, that's how it works.
Wonderful.
So, let's just jump into the Day 1 recap. Man, a lot to talk about. Lots of crazy plays. I guess we could say there was one kind of missed call with the hit on the Rams cornerback from Jamal Adams. I mean, hit to the head. That's kind of where I'm at with that. 25-year drought for the Bills is gone. They got their first playoff win since '95. Obviously, Tom Brady helping the Bucs get their first win since '02. All sorts of good stuff. But what about Taylor Heineke last night? I mean,
I thought he played pretty well, honestly. I mean, he wasn't anything. I mean, like, it's not like we're saying he's the greatest thing ever, but he played with inside his offense, I think, exceptionally well and utilized the opportunities he had.
What do you think, Jason?
I mean, it was a heck of a stage and an opportunity for him, and no one would have blamed him if Washington would have been able to or not been able to get in the end zone and make it a competitive game. Just from the gutsy standpoint, gets knocked out. Steve Montez, the technical fifth string quarterback for Washington, the rookie out of Colorado, was getting ready to play. As you see, Heineke's left arm is dangling as he comes off the field. They run him in back. He runs out before that possession. Kid's got heart. Kid's got grit. He's got that Ryan Fitzpatrick moxie on him. And at 27 years old and only having the one start, it's interesting to see the dynamic of where that's going to go. And maybe that's the quarterback Washington tries to bring back next year is the young quarterback. And then maybe they bring in a veteran or try to see if Alex Smith is going to stay. So those are the initial thoughts there, that this kid just at 27 years old, he just earned himself a nice paycheck from somebody for 2021.
Yeah,
for sure. I like that a lot. Yeah, I thought it was good for the kid to step in there and really just show that he can handle the blitz. I mean, Todd Bowles was just throwing the kitchen sink at the kid all night.
But that's Todd Bowles' pedigree. I mean, he does take the kitchen sink at you more than I think any other defensive coordinator.
Oh yeah, he's very aggressive. How about poor Pascal for the Colts? What a way to end your playoff game. Just stay down. Just stay down.
Yeah, Jake, I'll defer to you to start on this one.
Here's my take, and I feel like maybe it's an old analogy for a newer time. It's just it's a big playoff moment. This young guy, he was all amped up, trying to make something happen. I just feel like if he would have stayed down, Phillip Rivers in the offense was already running downfield to get that ball clocked. Yeah, they were out of timeouts. I just feel like if he stays down and lives for that next down, they're not throwing that 60-yard bomb at a prayer to hope that they get a good result. So I just feel like a little bit of a mental breakdown for a young guy who I think has a bright future.
He does have quite a bright future here. It's interesting to see who the 26-year-old receiver will be paired with at quarterback next year. Your guess is as good as mine on if Phillip Rivers is going to retire, if he's going to stay there. Do they go in the direction of Jacob Eason, who they draft? I believe that's who they drafted last year.
I think so.
I'm confused with him and Jake Fromm, but Fromm's with Buffalo. And It's just part of me wants to say stay down, but that was a perfect punch by Poyer. Like he hit the ball dead on. If he misses the ball or touches him a split second earlier, like just watching the replay, like I don't even know how they
His hand
changed
missed
the
him.
ball. But but I'm sure as a Colts fan, just stay down, stay down. But I mean, the Colts, let's shift it into a different direction. The Colts had an opportunity early in the game to put a lot of pressure on Buffalo, and you could tell that Frank Reich understood that when they went for it instead of kicking a field goal. I believe that was their second possession.
Yep.
Yep.
That opportunity, I can't blame a kid for trying to get up and make a play.
No, I mean, I agree. You know, like I said, he was amped. You know, you could tell. I mean, he was ready to roll and be a headline story for the next day of an amazing play that kept the Colts season going. It just, you got to give all credit to the Colts and Mr. Reich. That team was ready. That team was extremely ready. I made the comment to Condor right away. I said, look, I go, this Colts team is going to be tough today. You know, and I had said earlier in the game, you know, in our show prior to the game that I thought the Bills were going to smoke them. Not even right on that. I was completely wrong. The Colts came out and, you know, metaphorically punched the Bills in the mouth, and I think the Bills were just reeling. They used their talent to get out of the situations they were in, but from a physicality standpoint, the Colts won that game when it comes from a physical standpoint.
Yeah, I mean they showed that they weren't your typical 7 seed, but I think we all knew that with the AFC, especially with Miami having double-digit wins coming in as the 8 seed and not even making the postseason.
Right.
But when it comes to looking at the Buffalo Bills, they were, and I know I wasn't on the show yesterday, and I haven't, published anything stating my picks, but in a pool I entered, I then derived at the end of I have to rank the teams 1 through 14 as a confidence. Every time they win, you get those points. And I'm just in there looking at it. If you think a team that's playing this weekend is going to go all the way, then you want to put a higher mark on them, even if you think like Kansas City or Green Bay will win the actual Super Bowl. Because if you pick Buffalo to play Green Bay, Buffalo's got 3 wins, and the most wins Green Bay can get is 3. So, but to me, the Bills needed a game like that to show that not only can they beat up an opponent and knock them when they're down. Last week against Miami, we saw that. Sorry, Zach. And then it's just they win a close game. They can blow you out if they're clicking on all cylinders. The Zach Moss injury, I don't think ultimately is going to be as big of a deal because of the presence of Josh Allen running in the red zone. And that's where, and it's not like he's a big red zone back anyways. Zach Moss is bigger compared to Singletary, but he only comes in at 5'9".
Right.
So but 200, I think they said 208 pounds yesterday. So, that's a bruiser, but he's not as big as his quarterback who can just lower his shoulder like Cam Newton.
Yes.
Of old,
yes.
But I think the future is bright for Buffalo. Indy's in a, like we said, the quarterback situation there. Their foundation is fantastic.
Oh yeah.
Who the next quarterback's going to be. I'd like to see it be Matthew Stafford. That guy will fit. If that's all you're doing is adding him and taking out Phillip Rivers, it makes sense with the salary cap. I haven't broken it down completely, but Rivers had a $25 million or $30 million deal for this year. And Stafford, we know, is one of the higher paid quarterbacks in the league. He's younger. He was a former number 1 overall pick. There are plenty of weapons in Indy. Can you imagine having Pittman on one side, Paris Campbell on the other, Jonathan Taylor in the backfield?
You're good.
Sounds better than anything Matthew Stafford's had up in Detroit, not named Calvin.
Right.
Let's get that squared away.
Clear that air. Yeah, I think it'll be interesting. There's going to be a lot of quarterback movement, I feel, and Indy is in a unique spot. I think if they don't need to go and clean out house. They definitely don't need to do that. They just need to solidify a guy who can fit within their system and just take care of business. So, I mean, I think Matthew Stafford would be a good choice. I never really thought about that one. Probably mostly because I've been focusing on my own emotional needs with what's going on in the Bay Area. So, I mean, he's been, Stafford has been linked to conversations with the Niners. So I'm not sure. I think it'll be interesting if he would make the move from Detroit to Indiana.
Heineke looks like he'd fit in pretty well with what Kyle Shanahan's doing out in San Francisco, just from the toughness, the grit.
Yep.
Maybe that'll be the pair, Zach, of bridge quarterback or high upside. I don't know, just some kind of combination of pairing him with a non-top first or second round draft pick.
Yep.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. That would definitely be something interesting to see moving forward. So, the Rams won, but I guess my question about that is at what cost? How much do we look into this Aaron Donald injury? There's a couple question marks. I guess you have Cooper Kupp, his knee. Is that another ACL? Is that just what is it like? Not good. It's not potentially not good moving forward. What's going on there?
I thought I had heard a report. I can't remember 100%, but I thought I had heard that Cooper Kupp was okay. Now, I can't like take away from how much it means to not have Aaron Donald. I mean, I think it would be hard to argue a fact that the team would be better without him. I don't think he is as injured or is going to take him out. I think he may take a couple of days off in practice. It's not like this guy needs to be in practice every day. I mean, he is a physical specimen of, very few people. So, I mean, I think you look at him, I think he'll be okay. I think this team will be okay. You look at that win yesterday, and it's an NFC West battle. It was just a clear cut. That's what happens in the West. Either you're going to have a team who comes out and shows the other team that they're going to be in control of them for the whole game, or it's a 3-point victory. The Rams were ready. And here's where I feel maybe we need to start looking at the NFC West. I think Pete Carroll's coming towards the end of his tenure. You're looking at Sean McVay. You look at Kyle Shanahan. I'm not going to say Kingsbury because he really dropped the ball. The other two guys really do a good job of game planning against Pete Carroll, and it puts Pete in a lot of bad positions with his scheming and with his talent that he has and doesn't have. So I think what you saw was just Seattle took care of business in the regular season, but didn't have what they needed to take care of business in the postseason. Akers in the run game for the Rams, brilliant, on point, and just true form to the NFC West. What happens out there?
Yeah, I want to go back to something that you guys talked about with Aaron Donald. That score never got close enough where they had to hand the helmet back to Aaron Donald. Yep. I think I wouldn't have been surprised had he gone back in there, had it become a one-possession game with Seattle with the ball. So I'm sitting there looking at that. I think Aaron Donald is going to be okay. But what you said, Jake, is 100% true. You can't just replace an Aaron Donald. No. You see that with other teams where it's some positions you can just plug and play where it's the system. And yeah, in game, it's fine. If Akers goes down and Darrell Henderson's available, he wasn't yesterday, that's okay. Zach Moss goes down, you see more Devin Singletary, and then maybe you'll see the third string.
Right.
That is okay. But Aaron Donald, of course, I mean, he's the best player on the defensive side of the ball in football. I mean, it's hard. You can't compare generations from in decades in sports, eras, if you want to word it that way. If you're talking, You can't compare. That's why you can never get a concrete answer between who's better, LeBron or Michael Jordan. There's so many different factors going into it where, and I'm sure you guys talk about that at some point, or I'll come on that show in the future and we can have a nice little debate. Because remember, I am Chicago. I got some bull stuff over there as well. But see, that's what I'm talking about. You don't see a kid in Chicago with that freaking LeBron James stuff up.
So. I love to talk about it because it's just it's fun. You get this nostalgic conversation and then you get the new age conversation. It's like you're saying, we can't really compare eras. And really, I mean, the only person I think in the league you could take and remove Aaron Donald and put back in would be DeForest Buckner. You know, he's the second rated best D lineman in the league. His stats are comparable to his. That'd be the only person, but guess what? He's sitting at home now. The Rams don't have the luxury of having both of them. So the Rams definitely, I think, are going to be okay. They're just a tough team. I mean, Goff just needs to go home and rest his hand.
Yeah, and the Cooper injury. Oh, go ahead, Zach.
Oh yeah, you're good. No, I'm honestly, based on predictions today, unless something happens of some miracle sorts, which, I mean, anything's possible. It's the playoffs. But we might be looking at a Rams-Packers matchup next week. You know, not to sell Chicago short, but no.
No, and that's the way to look at it. It's an if then.
Right.
So. Yeah. But the intriguing thing here is if Chicago gets the victory, obviously they go to Green Bay, and then the Rams versus Tom Brady, that defense will make it a nightmare for Tom Brady. We already saw that earlier this season. So I mean, that's obviously I wanted to play out that way. But if New Orleans takes care of business today, then we're poised to see the Rams going to Tampa, which I'd very much enjoy watching that.
Oh yeah, I agree. I think that would be a lot of fun. It'd be good. Again though,
or Green Bay.
I go back to this, and Tom just changes in the postseason, and you saw it last night. That guy was getting rid of the ball 2 seconds flat. I mean, he'd hit it, bang, bang, gone. I mean, it's just, he's so good, and there's a reason why the top of the mountain used to be Joe Montana, and now the top of the mountain is Tom Brady.
Unfortunately. So, all right. We've talked enough about that nonsense. It's true though. Like, as much as I, obviously as a Dolphins fan, despise Tom Brady, I myself, I'm enjoying Tom playing in Tampa because obviously he's not my division anymore. He's not the Patriots anymore. and he's just as good. Like, he answered everyone's, can he do it without Belichick? Yes, he has lots of good weapons, but he looks good. He looks fine.
And actually, he had that first ever time in 30 victories. He had never thrown 2 touchdowns of 20 yards or more in his entire postseason career. You're talking about the guy who owns pretty much every quarterback record, and he still hadn't done that. But yesterday, he took care of business.
Wow, thanks. We really needed that.
I mean,
all right.
He's
so
TB12. He's TB12.
The rematch. I know. The Terminator 12. What? Oh. So
we got
the rematch.
It's fun. It's fun watching Tom Brady with the weapons he has. It's a kid in a candy store. I'm sorry, man. And I know we have the Ravens team up there.
Yeah, no, you're good.
But there's just something different about watching Tom Brady. I loved when he had Welker and he had Randy Moss. But we talked about the weapons, or I've talked about this off air with I think Zach before, but other guys before the season started. The best wide receiver he's ever played with, hands down, is Randy Moss.
Yeah.
But the 4 next best pass catchers he's ever played with, talent-wise, are on this roster with Antonio Brown, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and Rob Gronkowski. So, yeah, he played with Gronk in New England. But it's not even close. Like, Wes Welker was a great receiver, but he's not in the top 4 wide receivers, and he's not even close to that because of how good these guys are. So it is. I've always been a Brady over Manning guy, and so it's kind of fun watching this. And I'll root against him if he has a matchup with the Bears.
Right. I agree there. I'm with you because I was talking, obviously, to, Albatross down here about it quite a few times about how I just think it's so interesting that he has managed to not only sit himself in a great spot with all the weapons, but then convince the organization, hey, we're going to bring Antonio Brown in here and he's gonna live with me, and everything's gonna be okay. And now here he is catching touchdowns again, and catching them in the postseason. And hey, who knows? He might actually get that ring now because of Tom Brady, because they for some reason couldn't get it when they were all together in Pittsburgh. Oh, love it. Anywho, it's hilarious. I love it. So we got the rematch here, which obviously the Ravens were a super dominant team last year, ran into the wild card show that was the Tennessee Titans. We kind of know what happened. I feel like we kind of have a similar let's see. I guess it's a similar feeling to the team. I guess both teams, but I would say it took Baltimore, I guess, a little while to get going this year, I guess. They were kind of off and on, but I guess towards the end of the season, they just kind of got hot and played more consistent football. I think that's kind of where we're at. I don't know what to think about Tennessee at times. Sometimes you get 4 quarters out of them. Sometimes you get 2 quarters out of them. I don't think this is a game where you can only, play 2 quarters and expect to win.
No. I think the Ravens were caught in this weird – they really got in their own heads. I mean, they had their plan of success. They won 14 games last year. They come back this year, and I felt like the league kind of convinced them that their way wasn't the right way. Maybe they read too much into the Titans' loss last year. Then you look at it, they kind of go through this, kind of awkward period. They come back and then they just start dominating. And why? Because they went back to being who they are. They have an identity. I mean, don't make Lamar do anything Lamar doesn't need to do. If you allow him to work within his talents, he'll carry this team just fine. It's just the Titans are this Jekyll Hyde, Mike Vrabel version of themselves because they, when they want to come out and play hard, they're hard-nosed just like Mike Vrabel played when he was in New England. When they have these moments of confusion, they just look like a total circus out there, and they run around and don't really have any, construction to what they're doing. So it's going to be really interesting. If we get 4 quarters out of this Titans team, I think it's going to be a really good game. If we get 2 quarters out of this Titans team, they just might as well just pack their bags in the locker room.
Jason?
All right. I have a slightly different perspective here to add. Baltimore Ravens are 2-4 against playoff teams this year. One of them came against Cleveland, and the other one came against Cleveland.
So
Drive out of that what you want. Cleveland is a double-digit win team, solid team, very good offensive or running game, obviously there. And when Baker's not making mistakes, Cleveland looks pretty good. The 4 losses: Kansas City by 14, Pittsburgh by 4, Titans by 6, and where's the other one? Oh, no, I stand corrected. They have. Why is my math failing me down? No, Kansas City, Pittsburgh. Oh, I didn't count Pittsburgh twice. And then they lost to Pittsburgh against. So you have both of the top rushing offenses going against each other, the 2 best running. They said it's the first time in the playoffs that one has played 2 since Super Bowl 23.
Nice.
So I know
Nice.
Super Bowl 20. So whatever Super Bowl was played or whoever was in it, I think Cincinnati versus San Francisco was the answer to that from what I had heard. But I don't know who this Baltimore team is. Yeah, they look great. 5-game winning streak where they put up 38, 27, 40, 47, 34. But Cincinnati, Giants, Jaguars, Browns, and the Dallas Cowboys. The Tennessee Titans cannot play defense for 4 quarters. They might make a good stand here, a good stand or 2 there. Just I go back and forth, and Tennessee just has this magic. There's something. It's Vrabel. It's coming from Belichick. I just don't know how Baltimore gets the job done against stopping Derrick Henry, Ryan Tannehill is that good. I'm sorry. He is that good of a quarterback. He is going to be worth every penny. And it's not an indictment on Miami. It's
Oh
an
no, never
indictment
has.
on Gase. This is another blunder that former great Bears offensive coordinator Adam Gase, among other titles he's held, just Ryan Tannehill is good.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I think he is good. I think he's going to do his part. Obviously, we're going to see Derrick Henry, only 2,000-yard rusher this season. I think Tennessee can win. I just don't. Like I said, it's that Jekyll and Hyde thing with me for them. Like one time they're just getting, like you said, they'll make that stand, and you're like, okay, this team's got it. They've kind of figured out what to do, and then they just have these moments where it's like, wow, what'd you do there?
Yes, 100%. That's.
But I've been on the fence.
That's right.
I have been on the fence the whole time about this game. Even the two pools I joined, one's got Baltimore winning, and then one's got Tennessee winning. So truly on the fence. When we come to predictions a little later, I'll give you a good one on this one. So.
Oh, I like it. I like it. So the interesting things that I picked up. So Baltimore actually is one of the lonely teams here as of late that has a winning playoff record. And where they win the most games is in the wild card round. They are 7-2 in the wild card all time as a team, which is quite interesting. I think it's going to take a big game out of Lamar to get it done. Actually lost. So the last two times they made the playoffs, it was like a one and done. Even though they advanced the divisional round, having that bye in the old setup of things. They lost to the Titans, and then the time before that, they made the playoffs. They lost to the Chargers. So it's like they're having a one and done streak after that, Super Bowl fun that they had. So it'll be curious to see if they get back on track. I'm with you guys. It's going to be really hard for Baltimore to slow down Derrick Henry. We've seen teams struggle with it all season. Again, 2,000 yards speaks for itself. I think this is definitely one we'll come back to in the sense of we'll do picks at the end of our previews.
The other thing about this game, I have to throw this in here. I trust Ryan Tannehill to make a play more than I trust Lamar Jackson. Oof. Now, granted, there's other ways throwing Lamar Jackson throwing. So, right. But if you look last year, the game between the two teams in the playoffs, early on in the game, Harbaugh knew that Tennessee was legit, that this was a real tough team. They kept on going for it on fourth down, setting Tennessee up with the short field. And that was why that's one reason I'm leaning on Baltimore to win this game, because he's gonna learn from his mistakes. Make no mistake about it. Harbaugh's got a Super Bowl trophy as a head coach for a reason. So he's gonna make the adjustments. They kept on trying, and I'm like, don't do that. It was just like, I don't know how old you guys are, but I know you'll remember in a positive way, Jake. But when Dom Capers, the defensive coordinator for Green Bay, kept on blitzing in the NFC title game on Aaron Rodgers or on Colin Kaepernick, it's like, what are you doing?
Yep.
Because you had to make Kaepernick at that point beat you with his arm.
Yeah.
Don't set it up so you can, watch Kaepernick run all over you guys. And I don't know if he had over 100 yards rushing, but I think you know what I'm talking about.
He had, I believe it was $181, and he had like 2 touchdowns, which I'm still pretty sure is the record for a quarterback in the NFC playoffs.
Oh.
Yeah, we talk about that game quite often, so it's funny you bring up that point about that.
But you make the great point. If you make Lamar make decisions outside of his talent, that's where things start to fall apart for Baltimore. This guy is not going to be your Tom Brady, stand in the pocket, throw it with just absolute pinpoint precision, 20-plus yards down the field. He's going to be, I'm going to make you look goofy in the open field with this great juke in the open field and take you 50-plus yards. if they allow Lamar and that offense to operate the way that they feel comfortable, they're going to chew this clock. And again, this is kind of from Baltimore's perspective. They want to keep Ryan Tannehill off the field. Ryan can make all the passes down the field that Lamar can't.
Right.
They're this like weird opposite of each other, a yin and a yang almost, But again, it's a time possession thing. Both teams can run the ball extremely well, like you made the comment, 1 and 2 in the league. Whoever controls this clock will get this victory.
100%. I like it. There's a lot of things to be said about this next matchup here, and I think we're going to let Jason start this one off. He's got a lot to talk about. I think.
Oh man, it was funny. Last Sunday morning, we're doing the other show, Pigskin Nut Preview, and my bold prediction was that the Bears were going to make the playoffs, not because they beat Green Bay, but because the Rams eliminated Arizona. And that's exactly how that went down. It hurts. I mean, you had a 3-point overtime loss earlier this season. Foles played. Thomas was out. I believe Kamara was out too for New Orleans. Latavius Murray is a tough runner, but Akeem Hicks was out for the Bears. So I was hoping when it looked like Green Bay was going to be the 1 seed, and if the Bears got in, they'd be a 7, even though they had an outside chance of becoming the 6 based on what would have happened. I'm like, if they get New Orleans, this defense needs to be healthy, and the defense isn't healthy. So Buster Screen already ruled out, and it sucks that we're not even waiting for the active-inactive report for this one because Screen out. Jalen Johnson is still questionable, which was good, but he at least practiced Wednesday, Thursday, Friday in some capacity. So I'm hoping that the second round rookie out of Utah gets to dress up and play this game because Roquan Smith will be missing as well on the defensive side of the ball. And then rookie standout wide receiver Darnell Mooney is out as well. So
it's rough.
It's rough looking there. Starting lineup still be the same. At least Hicks is back for this one, so maybe the running up the gut, like Latavius Murray has a lot of success doing. Maybe the Bears will be able to limit that aspect of it, but that doesn't cancel out or nullify the usage of Alvin Kamara. And then Taysom Hill's got a touchdown in his last 2 games against the Bears, so he likes to hurt us as well. And obviously Drew Brees gets back Michael Thomas. It's the biggest number on the board with Washington getting the same amount of points last night against Tampa for a reason. I mean, you're talking about New Orleans at home with fans. It's not an environment to go into. I know it's not sold out because of pandemic and stuff it's sold out, but it's not max capacity. But the defense is going to have to get to Drew Brees and go along the blueprint that the Minnesota Vikings laid down last year in their first playoff game.
Very true.
Nobody really saw that one coming, or at least going that way. They made Drew Brees look old. And yeah, Akeem Hicks, Khalil Mack, Danny Trevathan, they can get to him. Brett Urban, who's the other guy that really gets there a little bit too? Every once in a while, Mingo will get into the backfield and make it a little tough for John Jenkins. That's the other defensive tackle I was talking about when they're rotating in and out. If they can get some pressure on Brees, anything can happen in this ball game. And you can see it. Get your hands up, tip a ball. Let that secondary that's pretty good. Now, if Johnson plays especially, let that secondary make a play too, but Khalil Mack has to show up today. I need to hear Tony Romo talk about Khalil Mack today and what he's seeing and not what he's not seeing. He's got to shed at least 1 or 2 double teams and go make a play. That's 2 first-round picks. He's got to make a play. Ooh, that felt good. Got that off my chest.
I agree. I think as much as I don't know, and I hate to do this, every time I talk about the Bears, I always end up talking about defense. And obviously why, the franchise was built around defense and a good running game. Now, maybe I'm a little bit of a homer on this one, but I love David Montgomery, Iowa State guy. I'm from Iowa, so I know who David Montgomery is, and to see him actually being utilized in the correct manner in the final 4 weeks of the season or so, it was a breath of fresh air. And look what happened. I am a huge Mitchell Trubisky fan. I think he has the exact talents that this Bears offense needs. Not just that, he has a little bit of an attitude, and you need an attitude when you play in the city of Chicago. I think when you look at this team from an outsider's perspective, the talent's there. So the GM's doing his job, and that's how I kind of judge GMs and coaches. A GM's doing their job when you have talent on the field. The coach is doing their job when you're winning. I feel like Nagy really needs to utilize his guys correctly. You have good playmakers. Without Mooney, that hurts. Miller can step up. We've seen him do it before. You still have Robinson, you have Kmet, Graham, but it all hinges on David Montgomery. You keep that D fresh. You keep those legs good. Khalil Mack in the fourth quarter will get to Drew Brees. You know, Drew had a good game against the Bears in Week 8. He had 280 yards, 2 touchdowns with a passer rating of 109.8. So, I mean, he landed the mark. It's just we're gonna see how the offense of the Bears react. I know that defense is more than capable of shutting this game down.
Yes, I like it.
I'm gonna jump back in here. I'm in absolute agreement with the offense having talent and being there. The couple things we didn't mention yet about that offense is when you saw David Montgomery, or when you started to see David Montgomery burst on the scene, what you also started to see was some continuity on the offensive line. So Charles Leno, Cody Whitehair, those are kind of staples there. Whitehair has been toggled around in his few years between center, where he's been a Pro Bowler, to guard because they drafted James Daniels. Daniels is out for the year with an injury, but Mustafa has filled in admirably at center, which allows you to confidently move over or to move Whitehair back to guard. And then on the right side, Bars and Ifedi are stabilizing that unit. And I think there's a combination of what should happen with the offense when you're trying to make up for the loss of Mooney. Yeah, easy thing to say there is, more Anthony Miller, more you can either go a little Javon Wims, Riley Ridley. But for me, it's more Cordero Patterson on the field at the same time as David Montgomery. He's a different type of runner, but David Montgomery's too valuable and he can catch the ball as well. So I don't really want to see Patterson back there unless it's just to spell Montgomery. Having both of them on the field, but just go back to what the Rams are doing with 12 personnel. You have 2 tight ends that can catch the ball, and then you also have Demetrius Harris gets a little bit of run too. So you have 3 viable tight ends. Yeah, Harris I'm not going to use for fantasy at any, unless you're just doing like a Bears only team. Then I think you'd have to draft their 3rd tight end. But the options are there. I'm not going to see much of Ryan Nall or Artavis Pierce. We don't need to see that. But the offenses look different since Trubisky has come back. Do I think he gives a better opportunity to win a game than Foles? No, not necessarily. But if the Bears are in this game and the one hindrance there is Trubisky looking or making terrible decisions, I'm okay with physical mistakes. I'm okay with taking a chance, throwing the ball downfield, and it gets picked on 3rd down because that's just like a punt. I'm not okay with not protecting the football inside the 7-yard line and Detroit recovering it and stealing a touchdown, stealing a game where the Bears had a chance to then actually become the 6th seed, or they would have won after they won in week 16. But needless to say with it, Mitchell Trubisky is not under contract at the end of this year. The Bears retain his rights to franchise him. Mitch Trubisky has a lot to gain here. If he gets a W today, lead this team to a W, the Bears will re-sign him. And I've come to grips with I want him as the quarterback under center for 2021 because I don't know what the alternatives are. And, just like the the virus out there, I'm a little scared of the unknown. So I don't want to know what the quarterback situation will look like for the Bears.
Mean, it's interesting you say that because I think this is, you had a good point. I think this is a proving game for him. Can he make the right decisions? I feel like he can. I feel like Drew Brees is definitely a former shade of who he was even 2 years ago. I just think we're going to see good things out of Trubisky in this offense, and I feel like they're going to make the right decisions when it is needed.
And a second-year comment about Iowa State former running back, or when David Montgomery was there, he had almost 3,000 rushing yards, and he left He left early, and he didn't play. I mean, he played a decent amount as a freshman, but double-digit touchdowns. I'm a gambler. I watched college football. I knew all about him. I was excited when the Bears took him, and I'm glad the offensive line and him have both looked better the last 5-6 weeks of the season, and really, that's one of the reasons they're here. And I know we talked about Baltimore's soft schedule. I know some of those wins for the Bears and the blowouts and the offense look good against Houston, Jacksonville, Minnesota. Understood, but that's what it's about in sports in general. You beat the bad teams. You beat the teams you're supposed to, and then the difference between being a good, great, historic team is what you do against the other good, great, historic teams. And it just eats at me when you lose the games you're not supposed to when it's on mental errors.
Very true.
And
Oh, I hear you there. I definitely hear you there.
And then I had one more thing in the Bears, Zach. Or do you have any? Are you talking about the Bears still?
Oh yeah. I just wanted to throw out this is their first appearance, since the double doink.
Oh man, yeah, that's a. I thought about that. I don't know if I was talking to my mom or my wife about this yesterday because they're both familiar with the double doinking Cody Parkey. I'm like, yeah, it's Cleveland's problem. I just hope Cleveland's not down 1, 2, or 3 points with a minute left in the ball. Just saying. So just saying. But that'll be 12 hours from now. Who knows?
I don't think it's going to come down to that today. I think the Bears are actually – they've been putting up points the last couple weeks, obviously excluding kind of running into Green Bay. I don't know. That kind of happens. Green Bay is just like the kryptonite of the Bears, I guess, right now. But
Bears went 13-3 in 2001.
Yeah.
They went to the playoffs. Their 3 losses. They lost to the defending Super Bowl champion Baltimore Ravens and the Packers twice. So so this isn't like a new thing that it's an Achilles heel there. But Green Bay, they're one of the – I mean, I know they're the 1 seed, so saying they're one of the best teams in the league is not a bold statement at all. But they're just like you saw, it was different last year with San Francisco, that they were just better than other teams. Kansas City is just better than other teams. I think Buffalo can play with them. But Green Bay, I think there is a huge gap between them and the rest of the NFC. Now, Green Bay is beatable.
I think it depends on what Saints team shows up. If we get – here's the thing, and this is getting into the Saints. This is where, unless you got one more thing, did you want to add to the Bears side, or are you good?
I'll throw it in the prediction.
Okay, so the Saints keep getting these tough playoff losses when they're supposed to have deep runs. They're supposed to be that team. Now everybody's kind of like, oh, well, this isn't really a good team, and they're not playing well at times, but they're finding ways to win, and Brees got injured this year, and now it's, oh, this might be Drew Brees' last game. I think this is when the Saints start to go rolling again. And if we get a hot Drew Brees, Alvin Kamara, Michael Thomas, Emmanuel Sanders, Jared Cook, if those dudes start getting hot offensively and that they allow the defense again to stay fresh, kind of how we were saying with the Bears side, I think this Saints team can make a run. I think this could be that run that we're supposed to have the last couple of years, but they get a push-off that isn't called, or they get the miracle with the Vikings. Like, I don't think it's going to happen again. I think Drew Brees is tired of this crap. He's tired of these close little, we have to hold them off to win. I think he's going to go out here and try to throw up as many points as he can as fast as he can.
That's fine. I feel
So,
good for Drew Brees, 8-8 lifetime in the playoffs. One Super Bowl
poor
ring.
Drew. Poor Drew.
Poor Drew. Dad, I'll tell you a quick story. This was a good one. Back in the Stephon Diggs miracle, Minneapolis miracle, whatever they called it. I'm bartending at a sports bar. We're busy, and when you're the bartender, people tend to like you. Or why else would they spend their time and their money sitting at your bar?
True.
I like to gamble on games, and that day I had a round robin going between Saturday and Sunday. So it was a series of 5 things needing to happen, like a parlay, but a bet where it was a 1-5 team, all the 4 combos, all the 3 combos, and all the 2 combos. So it was essentially 26 little parlays. I don't remember the specific amount I put on it, but I'm 3-0 going into that game. I got the over, which ended up hitting. Didn't look like it was going to hit for a while, and then the scoring in the second half really jumped it up. But the other one, I needed the Saints to lose by 5.5 or less or win the game. Or 6.5, 5.5 or 6.5, whatever it was, that touchdown, I'm winning by a half a point. And I don't know if you guys remember specifically what occurred there. Diggs scores a touchdown, throws his helmet up, everybody celebrates. There's no time on the clock. Per the NFL rules at the time, which has been changed, they had to come in and line up and attempt the extra point. And I'm sitting there, and at this point, it didn't really factor that or in my head or process, however you want to word it, that had Minnesota kicked the extra point, I still would have won. I think it was like $700. I'm just thinking I need to go 5-0 to win money. The 5-0, it was like $2,300.
Oh.
I got a packed bar. I'm pacing back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And then I see Adam Thielen run out. And I'm like, oh my God, they're going to take a knee. They're going to take a knee. And then that's what they did. They lined up. They took a knee. I win that money. And then I'm like, okay, you guys, you need another drink. Finally, it's no longer about me. It's back to about you guys. But well, I'll always have a tie to that one. But
That's awesome.
That's hilarious. So,
yeah, no, Drew Brees, in all seriousness, is going to want to. I don't know if I see him winning a game on the road in Green Bay. It's going to be snowy. It's going to be cold. I think we'll get to that point if we need to, but yeah, Drew Brees could pull a John Elway if they're hoisting the Lombardi on February 7th in Tampa Bay, going like this. He's gonna walk off into the sunset.
Yep,
smart thing to do, really. Smart thing to do. But real quick, last 2 things here on each team. Crazy again, losing records all time in the playoffs, but the Bears are 2-3 in the wild card all time. The Saints are 4-6. Curious to see how that goes. We'll get to those predictions soon. Now we have the Week 17 rematch being the Browns and the Steelers.
I just got a dirty look from my wife for some reason. She's trying to mess me up and at work. She just walked downstairs. She just looked at me. One of those. All right.
Oh man, you're like, get out of here.
No, she was smiling. I don't care.
That's so funny. So, Browns, Steelers. Oh man, the Browns are terrible all time in the wild card. I'm just gonna throw it out there now. They've only won 1 wild card game ever. They've lost their other 3, so they're 1-3 all time. The Steelers have a winning wild card record and are actually the other winning team all time. They're just stupid wins in the playoffs. They can lose just forever and it'd be fine. But that's here nor there. They're 6-5 in the wild card. My question is, what Steelers team are we going to get? Are we going to get the hand the ball off, establish the line of scrimmage, take care of the ball, not ask Big Ben to throw the ball 40 times, and let your defense make plays? Or are we going to get, hey, Ben, go throw the ball 40 times. Good luck.
For Steelers fans' sake, I'm not going to say for mine. For Steelers fans' sake, they want to run the ball. And it's the only way that they're going to be able to do this. The way you win playoff football is you run the ball to set the pass up. You don't want to put the entire game on Big Ben. He's not young anymore. He can do what he needs to do, but he's not going to carry this team like he did to the Super Bowl multiple times. I think that the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to have to come out and play physical football against a defense that's going to be they're going to be pumped. They're going to be jazzed playing against them again. They beat them last week, so they're excited. I mean, you look at just the way that the Browns had played this year. They played more together. Obviously, I think a big factor of that is Stefanski. Really good head coach, brought the team together. There was already talent there. We're unorganized. Again, I think a lot of it's going to ride on – really, I think this entire game is going to ride on the fact of what Baker Mayfield does and doesn't do for the Browns.
Yeah. That's really been the question with the Browns down the stretch too, since Odell went down, is kind of where we're going to be with Baker Mayfield. And the guy's been playing really good down the stretch. Now you have an opportunity, I guess you could say, biggest game of his career right now. What are you going to do with it? Yeah, what are you going to do for it? And it's funny because the Browns haven't made a playoff appearance in a long time. But the last time they did make the playoffs, they also played the Steelers. And they lost 36-33 in a shootout.
That sounds pretty Brown-esque.
Right. So I'm gonna be. This looks like.
It's been
the looks of it.
2002 was when that game took place.
Yeah.
Wow.
Just crazy how history repeats itself. But at the same time, now we got to really figure out. Here's what I was saying. This game just looks like a Steelers game. Just on the outside looking in, you have all the COVID for the Browns. They're kind of here and there, up and who's going to be there, who's not going to be here. Just all these question marks. But then at the same time, maybe this is totally the Browns' opportunity to steal one.
Well, I don't know. I think it's going to be interesting. It's going to hurt Stefanski not being there. What is it, Joel? Biantonio? I'm not sure exactly how to say his last name. He won't play either today, and that's huge because by Pro Football Focus, the Browns had the best ranked offensive line in the NFL. Now they're going to be going against a team that pass D-wise, yards per game, the Steelers only gave up the third most yards. They were the first. They were rated number 1. They were also tied for first in interceptions. Their rush defense, they were 13th for 4.3 yards per carry. They allowed 111 yards per game, which rounded out to be 10th. The biggest one here, I think, that we really, really need to pay attention to, play action plays. Cleveland has an affinity for play action plays. I believe they ran like 100 and I lost it in here. They're one of the 119 play actions this year, 7th in the league.
Wow.
The Steelers defense, though, on the opposite hand, only gave up a 63.9 passer rating, which was the best against those play action plays. So it seems like one of the strengths for the Browns kind of goes head to head with the strengths of the Steelers. So both sides, the best part of their teams is offense for the Browns, defense for the Steelers. That's going to be where the big bust is going to happen. The Browns have 2 big heavyweights in that backfield. You have Nick Chubb with over 1,000 yards, averaged 5.6 yards a carry, and had 12 touchdowns. He switches out with a guy by the way, Hunt, who had 841 yards, 4.2 yards a carry, and 6 touchdowns. That's 18 touchdowns by your running back. That's what you need to see from the Cleveland Dog Pound is just hard-nosed, run the ball, and prove to the Steelers that you're better.
Yeah, and then with Cleveland's running game, you only had, I believe, Nick Chubb missed 5 games. So it's not like you had 2 players playing 16 games each. So Chubb only playing in 11 games. helps make that number look even more impressive. Obviously, not having Kevin Stefanski on the sideline for Cleveland is going to be
Huge.
hurtful, but when you're a head coach of the NFL, you bring your trusted people with you. So I believe it's like the special teams coordinator. Someone is going to will be the interim head coach and calling the plays. You know, I just compare that. I was talking to one of my best friends, Aaron, the other day about this. He's a Browns fan. I'm like, man, if I was the head coach and you were on the staff, 100% trust that I have him with him calling the plays on my behalf or on the team's behalf. I wouldn't trust someone. So it's not, I don't think that's as big of a deal being there because they're still doing it for coach. You know, if you need your bulletin board material, it's let coach come back and coach one more game for us this year. And that's going to help there. But who's going to stop Myles Garrett from putting Big Ben on his keister? I mean, I understand there's some secondary issues for Cleveland. Kevin Johnson, Denzel Ward are already out. So that's going to hurt there. And obviously going against Juju, Claypool, Deontay Johnson, James Washington, and the rest of the pass catchers there. But if Cleveland can dominate the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball, then we're talking about another team breaking a huge drought. You know, Buffalo Bills getting a W yesterday. But the Joel Bitonio, that's a tough loss, losing him from the offensive line, because it looks like Conklin and Teller might be. Teller's a big part there, but they're gonna have to get creative with that. But they do have 3 tight ends: Njoku, Bryant, and who's the other guy that they use? Austin Cooper. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. So, and then obviously Jarvis Landry, Donovan Peoples-Jones. They have the skill position players to get there.
Is Nick Chubb gonna have another big game?
I don't know how he doesn't. I mean, the Steelers' defense has looked a little more mortal after the season-long injury or season-ending injury to Bud Dupree. So yeah, he's gonna get it. I'm scared of watching T.J. Watt and the rest of the playmakers on the defensive side of the ball. If they can get into, the longer the ball's in Baker's hands, the more anxiety anyone rooting for the Browns should feel.
It's true.
But James Conner was active last week as an emergency, but I also think that was to get him a little bit of action, because he just hasn't seemed right this year. And Benny Snell looked good week 1 against New York when Conner got knocked out, and that's really been it. You know, volume back that needs to break one. And now, granted, that's more of a fantasy analysis of Benny Snell. From a NFL standpoint, if you average 3.3 yards a carry, you'll get a first down every 3 carries. You know, not the way you want to do it, but I don't know. Big Ben, I can see a scenario in which Big Ben looks like crap tonight, and then he retires and it's over. I think that's a very, very small likelihood. I think or probability. I could see this game. I could see this one going either way. I really could.
I know.
Yeah.
Split.
Cleveland's just been through so much in 2020 in the 2020 season. Why would it not carry over now? They've overcome quite a bit of adversity. I mean, they almost blew a game last week. But at the same time, looking at Pittsburgh, it's like they were down 21-7 against Indianapolis in week 16. And I'm like, there's no chance they're coming back and winning this game. And then they did. So having that fresh in my mind, as opposed to what I saw week 17, leads me to believe that Pittsburgh's fine. Pittsburgh's Pittsburgh, and they're going to be there at the end. Or they could not, you know what I mean? They could still, that they're going to be playing next week.
Yep.
Okay, so now that just goes into my next question for you guys. As soon as this, here we go. You guys ready? Are you ready about this? Upset special anywhere? What's the upset of the day?
Oh, Bears! Come on, man.
Yeah. I said it yesterday on the show, or it might have been right prior to the show. I said I was going with the Bears, and I think the Bears are going to go down, and they're going to take care of business in New Orleans.
I love that.
And again, I say it because I know it's doable. I watched the 49ers go down there and beat the Saints in a packed Superdome. I've watched us do it. I've watched other teams do it. You're talking it's just not the same. I think this Bears team comes out, and I think they're going to upset the Saints and send Drew Brees on his retirement adventure.
The Niners Saints game you're talking about, that is the best game Jimmy Garoppolo has ever played in the NFL. I'm sure he did well at Eastern or Rolling Meadows High School. He grew up not too far from where I grew up, which is kind of cool. So I always have rooted for Jimmy G. Yep. I hope to root for him next year on New England. It's just a weird thing for me.
Right.
I know. It's like, but my upset special. I mean, I see the Bears doing it, but in all seriousness, I think the most likely upset of the three would be Tennessee. But I don't even know how you classify that as an upset. Just because Vegas wants both sides to get the same amount of action, that Baltimore's favored. I mean, Tennessee is the home team. Tennessee is – it's not like the Washington-Tampa game.
Right.
You know, that team won a tough division over a playoff team, not Washington winning a mediocre division over, you know, the third string. Yeah. They're not third stringers. They're all professionals, but
they were the bottom of the barrel. Let's be real. The NFC East was the bottom of the barrel.
Well, yeah, the NFC least is an accurate new name for it whenever they changed that. Probably right around its inception is when they gave them that nickname. But Tennessee has the easiest path to victory out of the three that I see. But I could see all three underdogs taking care of business today, because yesterday, from a betting standpoint, if you took the points, Indy covered, Washington covered, Rams obviously covered because they were an underdog and they won outright. So, you know, I'd love to see the Bears win outright.
That'd be nice. So, okay, good. I like it. I think it's kind of the same way. I think these games you can see the underdogs winning, but at the same time, you can see the favorites winning. Compared to yesterday, you're kind of like, okay, are the Colts going to beat the Bills, and what football team we're going to get? So now it is time. So just a little recap from yesterday. We had CJ, Jason, and myself all 2-1. And, of course, the one lone undefeated Albatross 3-0. We don't want to hear it. Oh, I'm just kidding.
It's hard to beat. It'd be great.
So, on to today. First one of the day, Baltimore at Tennessee. It's weird. I see it going both ways, but my gut instinct is Baltimore on this one. I think they find just enough to get it done, and I'm going to say it's going to be 28-24 final.
All right, you tell me when you want me to give you gold.
I'm gonna roll with the 2,000-yard rusher of the season, and I'm gonna go with the Titans to win 21-17.
Okay, Jason.
All right, for the prediction, I'm taking the Tennessee Titans in the 3.5 points in a 34-31 Ravens victory. So the hook is going to come. I'm not sure if it's going to happen in OT. I don't think it'll happen in OT. What I think is going to happen, and this is what I was talking about a little earlier. You saw last week, Deshaun Watson marches down, scores a touchdown against the Tennessee Titans. Big play down the field to A.J. Brown, 54-yarder. Boom, Gostkowski, W. Here's the picture I'm going to paint. Tennessee is going to tie the game up late. They're going to leave too much time, just like that Monday Night Football matchup with Cleveland. Justin Tucker is going to nail a 45-yard field goal or longer to give the Ravens a 3-point victory in the first game. So,
like it.
So I like that.
And We got CJ in the comments here. He is taking the Titans 35-21. And then off the bat, game 2, he is taking the Saints 27-21.
Hey CJ, I'll take the Buccaneers 31-23 over Washington.
I was gonna say, where's our local Washington guy? I mean, come on, you gotta show
he
up.
didn't sleep good. He didn't sleep good.
He's in mourning. He realized he realized that he has the same amount of playoff wins as both of your teams combined. So he doesn't need to come out. Mine still has a chance.
Who's the old guy with the Bears gear on?
How old are you?
That's what CJ said.
Oh, who's the old guy?
Like, you got to, like, if I'd have been doing this show after we lost the Super Bowl, I'd still be here. Okay, I watched trash last year, but I was still here.
And we got one of our local commenters, Jay Wall. He's over here saying the Titans 27-21. So on to Bears Saints. I am taking Chicago in my upset of the day, and I'm saying they're going to get their defense is going to hold Drew and them down 20-10 Chicago victory.
Whoa. All right. I'll take that.
What's funny is I think you need to stay away from my notepad, Zach, and quit looking.
What are you talking about?
I know I'm really good at doing these picks things, but I think the Bears defense, I think, the Bears are going to come out and kick some. Oh, can't wait to see it. 24-10, Chicago's taking this, and they're going to go, let's see, they're going to go play, they'd end up playing the Packers, right?
Yeah, if the Bears win it, Bears.
Okay. They're gonna go ruin my Super Bowl prediction, and they're gonna smack Aaron Rodgers because you get physical with him and he cries.
I would love to. I'd love to see that. It was one of my brothers just watched that Barstool Sports Daniel Portnoy. You're aware of the big thing he's doing right now with raising money for small businesses, and I guess Aaron Rodgers was interviewed on Friday. My brother's like, man, I really dislike the Packers, but this guy just gave $500,000 to this cause. So I hope that next week I'm making a prediction here about how the Bears are going to beat Green Bay, because I got the Bears going. I'm going to do a little weird on the score here. I'm going 31-30. I think something's going to click. Something's going to happen here. But the other point I wanted to talk about with the Bears before that I'll leave here, special teams is going to be the main reason the Bears get a W if they get a W. So you can put me on record as the 31-30. Cairo Santos is going to hit a minimum of 3 field goals today. And he's going to indoors. He'll get a little bit further. Maybe he'll even attempt like a 55-yarder end of the half type thing here. But I'm not sure if it's going to be a game winner from him or what's going to happen, or if it's going to be Cordero Patterson just showing up. I mean, the guy's the active leader in career touchdown kickoff returns for a reason. The guy can run. The guy can read. And that's what it's about. You saw the opening kickoff of the Bears game last week against the Packers was a little weird, where sometimes you'll see a player get out of bounds to touch the ball, because then it's a penalty on the kicker for kicking the ball out of bounds. I know it seems weird that a player can do that, but Cordero Patterson did that last week, and it's just the IQ's there. The third phase of the game is very important. It should really be treated equally. Offense is important, defense is important, because that's why the Bears struggled so much early in the season, especially the first matchup against their matchup against the Rams, when Johnny Hecker kept on placing the Bears inside the 7, inside the 5. I don't care how good your offensive line is. If you don't have Derrick Henry behind there that is a human tackle breaker, your odds are you're just running a couple times to punt, and you're just playing chess, and you've got to win the chess matches. And I think the Bears are gonna, win some chess matches. They're gonna get a W.
We got J Wall in here saying Bears 28, 28-24 victory.
And just so you know, he is a resident Bears fan. So, I mean, he's all about the Bears.
Oh, man, I was hoping it was someone who hated the Bears. I mean, I love everybody that loves the Bears. Don't get me wrong, but, like, I need some more optimism.
Right. It always feels good when you have someone from someone else's camp going, go Bears.
All right.
Bears.
Here we are. Last one of the day. The Sunday night matchup. Cleveland traveling rematch to Pittsburgh. As much as I would like to see Cleveland get it done, I'm taking Pittsburgh 28-21.
Well, I've gone back and forth during the phase of this last hour and 10 minutes. My original pick was the Steelers. But after long, deliberation of what my information is, and I'm going to go with the Browns. 26-21. I feel like the comments about who's going to stop Myles Garrett kind of helped a little bit of my leaning towards Cleveland. I think Cleveland's going to just pound the ball. Why take the risk of putting it in Baker Mayfield's hand? Now, again, he threw 26 touchdowns and 8 picks, had a 95, passer rating. So, I mean, he played well when the ball was in his hands. I just think they need to play through their stars. Chubb and Hunt, run the ball, let Myles Garrett get to the opposition. I think the Browns get out of here with their first victory. This is the year to, set trends and break old traditions. So I think the Browns are going to make their Ohio faithful finally feel happy.
Oh, Jay Walls says 31-27 Pittsburgh. CJ says that he wants to wipe his Heineke.
And Zach just said the first funny thing I've heard him say ever.
Right.
I'm going back and forth here. I think the deficiencies on the offensive line and Pittsburgh's defense combined gives Pittsburgh the W here. Thinking maybe 27-21, hard-fought, entertaining ball game. I'm rooting for Cleveland. Like I said about my buddy Aaron, big Browns fan. I want to see it, and I hope I'm wrong there. But if I need to catch you, I gotta go Pittsburgh.
Right. I'm definitely going risky on some. On the Cleveland one. I had said before today I was going to go Pittsburgh, but I don't know. My jellies are telling me different.
My mind is telling me no.
Exactly.
It's funny because my original pick was Cleveland to win, and I have since flipped. That's why I picked the Pittsburgh Steelers now. Oh, man.
Either one of us try to get the advantage up. Cody Parkey misses 2 field goals. Thanks, Jake. So, yeah, he's just trying to be no matter what, he's got a triple doink to outdo what he did in Chicago.
Right. And Parkey's gone, Santos, I think, will take care of business.
Yeah, Santos looks very good back there. But, yeah, there we go. Let's have a great day of football watching.
Yeah.
That is that. I do know CJ also picked the Browns in this matchup. I don't necessarily have a score from him, but he took the Browns in the upset.
It may have been wiped away from all of his tears.
Oh, man. So, yeah, that's all we got so far. That's where we're at. We appreciate everyone joining the show. Jason, we thank you, my good sir, for your time. We hope to see you on again here soon. Maybe it's next weekend for, preparing for that matchup in Lambeau.
Oh, man, that'd be awesome. No, thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure.
Awesome. Thank you again, guys. You guys have a wonderful day. Enjoy your football, and we'll see you guys soon.